The rain was relentless, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. Each drop against the window of my small London flat was a tiny hammer blow, chipping away at the remnants of the life I thought I knew. I'm Alaric, 46, an IT specialist. Until a few weeks ago, my life with Bronte had been, well, predictable, comfortably predictable. We'd been married for 18 years, a solid, if slightly unremarkable, union. Or so I believed. It started subtly. Bronte, a primary school teacher, began working late more frequently. "Staff meetings," she'd say, her voice a little too bright, a little too quick. I didn't suspect anything at first. Bronte had always been dedicated to her job, passionate about her students. But then came the hushed phone calls, the way she'd snatch her phone away when I entered the room, the new perfume, something floral and cloying, not her usual earthy scent. I tried to brush it off, attributing it to stress, to a midlife crisis of her own, perhaps. I even suggested a weekend getaway, a chance to reconnect. She declined, citing a mandatory training session. That's when the seed of doubt truly took root. One evening, I decided to surprise her at work. I brought a takeaway curry from our favorite place, hoping to salvage some semblance of normalcy. The school was eerily silent when I arrived, the only sound the hum of the fluorescent lights. I found her classroom, the door slightly ajar. I pushed it open, ready to present my offering, but the scene that greeted me froze me in place. Bronte wasn't marking papers or preparing lesson plans. She was locked in a passionate embrace with a man I vaguely recognized as Gareth, the school's new music teacher. His hands were tangled in her hair, her body pressed against his. They didn't hear me, lost in their own little world of betrayal. The curry slipped from my grasp, splattering against the linoleum floor. The clatter broke their reverie. Bronte gasped, her face draining of color. Gareth stepped back, a look of sheepish guilt on his face. Alaric, Bronte stammered, her voice trembling. "It's not what you think." Those words, the click of all clicks, hung in the air like a toxic cloud. "Really?" "Because it looks exactly like you're having an affair in your classroom," I said, my voice surprisingly steady, considering the earthquake that was tearing through my insides. Gareth mumbled something about needing to leave and scurried out of the room, leaving Bronte and me alone amidst the wreckage of our marriage and a spilled curry. "How long?" I asked, my voice flat. Bronte avoided my gaze, fidgeting with the collar of her blouse. "A few weeks," she admitted, the words barely audible. "It just happened." "It just happened," I repeated, incredulous. "You just happened to start sleeping with another man in your classroom." The absurdity of it all was almost comical if it weren't so devastating. She started to cry, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry, Alaric," she sobbed. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I still love you." "Love me?" I scoffed. "If this is your idea of love, I'd hate to see what you consider betrayal." I turned and walked out of the classroom, leaving her there, a sobbing mess amidst the spilled curry. I drove home in a daze, the rain blurring the streetlights into hazy halos. The reality of what I'd witnessed crashed down on me with full force. My wife, the woman I'd shared my life with for nearly 2 decades, had been lying to me, betraying me, right under my nose. That night was a blur of anger, disbelief, and gut-wrenching sorrow. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't even think straight. I paced the flat like a caged animal, replaying the scene in my head, each repetition a fresh wound. How could she do this to me, to us? What had I done to deserve this? The next morning, Bronte was waiting for me when I woke up. Her eyes were red and swollen, her face etched with guilt. "We need to talk," she said, her voice hoarse. "I don't think we do," I replied, my voice cold. "I saw what I saw, there's nothing to discuss." "Please, Alaric," she pleaded. "Give me a chance to explain." I hesitated. A part of me, the part that still clung to the memory of the woman I loved, wanted to believe her, wanted to hear her explanation. But the other part, the part that had been shattered by her betrayal, knew that there was no explanation that could justify what she had done. "Fine," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. "You have 5 minutes." Bronte launched into a tearful monologue, a jumble of excuses and justifications. She claimed she'd been feeling neglected, that I'd been too focused on my work, that she'd felt invisible. She said Gareth had made her feel alive again, that he'd paid attention to her, that he'd made her feel desired. "So, what you're saying is it's my fault," I interrupted, my voice rising. "That because I wasn't paying you enough attention, you decided to sleep with another man." "No, that's not what I'm saying," she protested, but her voice lacked conviction. "I'm just trying to explain how it happened." "Well, congratulations," I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "You've successfully explained how you destroyed our marriage. Now get out." Bronte refused to leave, insisting that she wanted to work things out, that she still loved me, but I was done. I couldn't look at her without seeing her in Gareth's arms, without feeling the sting of her betrayal. "It's over, Bronte," I said, my voice firm. "I want a divorce." She begged me to reconsider, promising to end the affair, to do whatever it took to win me back, but I was unmoved. The trust was gone, shattered beyond repair. "Just go," I repeated, pointing to the door. "And don't come back." She finally left, her sobs echoing in the empty flat. I watched her go, feeling a strange mix of relief and despair. The pain was still raw, but beneath it, a flicker of something else began to emerge. A sense of resolve, a determination to rebuild my life, to move on from this betrayal. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of legal proceedings, awkward phone calls, and tearful conversations with friends and family. The divorce was messy, acrimonious, and emotionally draining. Bronte fought me every step of the way, clinging to the hope that I would change my mind, that we could somehow salvage our marriage. But I remained firm in my decision. I couldn't forgive her, couldn't forget what she had done. The flat felt empty and sterile without her, but I refused to let the sadness consume me. I threw myself into my work, spending long hours at the office, burying myself in code and data. I started going to the gym, working out my frustrations on the punching bag. I reconnected with old friends, going out for drinks, attending concerts, trying to rediscover the joy in life. One evening, a few months after the divorce was finalized, I received an unexpected phone call. It was Gareth. "Alaric, I need to talk to you," he said, his voice trembling. "It's about Bronte." I hesitated, unsure whether I wanted to hear what he had to say, but curiosity and a morbid sense of fascination got the better of me. "What about her?" I asked, my voice guarded. She's not doing well," Gareth said. "She's been drinking heavily, she's lost her job, she's a mess." I felt a flicker of satisfaction, a sense of karmic justice, but it was quickly replaced by a wave of guilt. Despite everything, I didn't want her to suffer. "What do you want me to do?" I asked, my voice softening. "I don't know," Gareth admitted. "I just thought you should know. I can't deal with her anymore. I'm leaving." And with that, he hung up. I sat there for a long time, staring at the phone, trying to process what I had just heard. Bronte, the woman who had betrayed me, the woman who had destroyed our marriage, was now alone and miserable. And Gareth, the man she had cheated on me with, had abandoned her. I knew I should feel vindicated, that I should revel in their misfortune. But all I felt was a profound sense of sadness. Sadness for Bronte, for Gareth, and for myself. Sadness for the wasted years, for the broken trust, for the love that had turned to ashes. I decided to visit Bronte. I found her in a small, run-down flat on the outskirts of London. She looked terrible. Her eyes were bloodshot, her hair unkempt, her clothes rumpled. The flat was a mess, littered with empty bottles and overflowing ashtrays. "Alaric," she said, her voice slurred. "What are you doing here?" "I heard you weren't doing well," I said, my voice gentle. "I came to see if you were okay." She started to cry, tears streaming down her face. "I've ruined everything," she sobbed. "I've lost my job, my friends, my husband. I'm all alone." I sat down beside her and put my arm around her. "You made a mistake, Bronte," I said, "but it doesn't have to define you. You can still turn things around." I helped her get into rehab, supported her through her recovery, and even helped her find a new job. It wasn't easy. There were setbacks, relapses, and moments when I questioned my own sanity, but I persevered. Not because I still loved her, but because I believed that everyone deserves a second chance. Over time, Bronte began to heal. She stopped drinking, she found a new purpose in her life, and she even started to rebuild some of her broken relationships. We never got back together, but we became friends. Not the same kind of friends we had been before, but a different kind of friendship, one based on honesty, respect, and a shared understanding of the past. One day, Bronte came to me with a proposition. She had been offered a job teaching English in a small village in France. It was a chance for her to start over, to escape the shadows of her past, but she was hesitant to go. "I'm afraid," she said, "afraid of being alone, afraid of failing." I looked at her, seeing not the woman who had betrayed me, but the woman she had become, strong, resilient, and determined to make amends for her mistakes. "You're not alone," I said, "and you won't fail. I believe in you." She smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. "Thank you, Alaric," she said, "for everything." Bronte moved to France and we stayed in touch. She thrived in her new environment, becoming a beloved teacher and a respected member of the community. She even found love again with a kind and gentle man who appreciated her for who she was. I too moved on. I met someone new, a woman named Elodie, who was everything Bronte wasn't: adventurous, spontaneous, and fiercely independent. We traveled the world, explored new cultures, and built a life filled with laughter and joy. I never forgot what Bronte had done, but I learned to forgive her, not for her sake, but for my own. I realized that holding onto anger and resentment only poisoned my own soul. Letting go of the past allowed me to embrace the future, to find happiness again. The rain has stopped now, and the sun is shining through the clouds. The city is bustling with life, oblivious to the personal dramas that unfold behind closed doors. I look out the window, feeling a sense of peace I haven't felt in a long time. The betrayal was a painful chapter in my life, but it also taught me valuable lessons about love, forgiveness, and the resilience of the human spirit. I am Alaric, and this is my story of heartbreak, betrayal, and ultimately, redemption.